And as long as you're signing Patty, if you have other elements that are crucial, you should try to sign them too. If we wanted all the girls in Patty's band, we'd want to get agreements with them, because if they're not on board, part of your pitch is not sellable. All right, so we signed Patty and the girls, and we're going to go to the network, right? Nope. You are going to get put with a production company. There's not really a way around this. You can do it before or after, but you're going to do it. And it doesn't matter if you're doing independent features for yourself now, or you have a wedding company, or you do industrial videos or something. They're not going to fund you. They're going to fund a production company that has delivered them shows. Eventually, when you've done a few shows for them, you could sort of change the stream of money and say, hey, cash flow my company now, because I have a track record. But initially, if you're watching this presentation, they are not going to fund your company. If you go to them, they're going to probably just put you with somebody. And that's a huge, huge risk. And a long time ago, a very good friend of mine got a show of his own that he was in and writing and producing. And he got paired up with a pretty lousy production company, and that did a terrible job. And it sort of blew his one shot. And he didn't have any choice in the matter, because he's just, he sold a show, he's excited about that, he's along for the ride. You can't really, like your first show, pull the emergency brake and say, like, oh, wait, I don't know. So, and I had this realization I thought I was going to go to the network too. I just wanted the leverage. I thought there'd be better leverage with me going to a network and then shopping around a sold show. I thought that'd be pretty good. But the more I thought about it, I thought I'd rather have the choice of production company, because I'm not really sure. The shows I do a lot of like competition format shows. I do The Bachelor, I've done The Amazing Race, I've done Project Runway. And so I don't know, my show I was pitching this last year was a food show. And I didn't know a lot of the food companies that, that do that sort of stuff. And so I wanted to shop my project around. And also my talent, my Patty, was going to benefit from me shopping them around. I had 3 girls. And because by me shopping them to a bunch of production companies, they got shown all over town. And they got the exposure. They had people bidding over their project. It sort of became a good marketplace for this show. It creates this sort of economy around your show that you don't have if you just go to the network and go to one production company. So that's actually a selling point. If you're an individual producer, that's a plus that you have over a production company if you're approaching talent. So I told the talent that I had signed to my project, if you get signed by this, they wanted sort of a well-known reality company that had approached them. And I said, they're exclusive to NBC. So you can only go to an NBC property. And the company's not going to tell you that, but they can only go to Bravo or NBC or whatever else NBC Universal owns now. So if you are an individual and you find a Dog the Bounty Hunter, you find a Patty, that's actually a plus that you're sort of chaperoning them through this process. So when you do shop around, you want to find that company that's a good fit. I took my show out to 7 companies. 5 of them made offers to me. We'll talk about what that means in a second. But they weren't all right. It's exciting, it's flattering. It's like putting a profile on a dating website and you get a bunch of answers, and the first ones are always exciting, and then after a while you get a bunch and you sort of get desensitized a little bit. And you start thinking more rationally about, what am I looking for? And I thought that with my show, what am I looking for? Well, some of these companies were very big, successful companies that my agent was excited for me to be signing with. But they didn't make shows like my food show. And I couldn't find an example in 20 years of them making shows of anything that looked like what I was trying to make. And that bothered me, because if they haven't done it, I don't want them learning on my first project. I wanted to take my project to a company that was proficient and excellent at making shows exactly like mine, that I could see. my agent was telling me, go with this big company, go with this big company. And I said, show me a show in 20 years that looks like my show. And they couldn't. And when you talk about right choice, I think that that's probably the first priority over personalities, over deal, because if the company doesn't make a good show, it doesn't matter how good your deal was. Find a company that makes stuff like you're selling and makes it well. I asked around, before I signed with the company I signed with, I was asking friends of friends of friends who had worked at these companies to tell me everything. And if they said nice things, I said, tell me something bad. The worst thing I heard about the company I signed with was something about like they didn't have enough coffee, or it was like, you have to ask around, because some of these places are just known duds. They're in business, you see their brand on TV, you see their little logo at the end, but they just fail, or they're really terrible to work with. And so you need to find people, ask me, email me, and say, what's the deal on this company? What's their rep? And then the last thing is, you want to get a good deal for yourself, because I assume that if you're trying to sell this project, it's part of a bigger plan to become a producer. So to get a good deal, you need some leverage. Well, we have Patty signed to an exclusive deal. We can get more leverage if we make a sizzle reel. Now, what a sizzle reel is it's a 3 to 4 minute reel. It shows like characters, shows them in their environment. So we would shoot Patty in her pie shop and Patty at band practice, and we'd shoot interviews with her and her friends and sort of get a flavor of that. And ideally, that little sizzle would have even an arc in it. So maybe Patty's got like a Thanksgiving Day rush, and they shoot the sizzle then, so it feels like you have something to show before and after. You want to make this a good quality, and we'll talk about that in a minute. The timing is not flexible. You cannot make a 6-minute one and then justify it to the production company or the network or whatever. No one's going to let that get through. My sizzle was 6 minutes. I couldn't think of how to get it down to 4 minutes. It's not fudgeable. And when you sit in a room with these executives and you're screening your sizzle, the 4 minutes feels like an eternity. You're just waiting for them to look at the BlackBerry. And so it's not an option. You have to be in that time. And if you get an agent, they're going to say the same thing. If you take it to a production company, they're going to chop it to 4 minutes before they take it to a network. If you take something good that they can take to a network, that gives you a lot of leverage, because you have now saved them 5, 10, 20 grand on shooting a sizzle. So you can use this to get yourself better terms in your deal. I shot a sizzle that people felt good about, and they felt like it didn't need a lot of work to take it out. And that was to my great benefit when it came time to do my deal, because I kept using this as a chip. Well, I can give you the sizzle I shot for free, and then you give me X, Y, and Z. Actually, you could say, I'll give it to you for free for now. If we sell the show, then you reimburse me for it. You have all these ways to play that sizzle. It's a great piece of leverage if you have the means to do it. You also get to show that you are capable of producing something, and something that looks like the show that you want to be making. And that's very valuable, because I could tell you I had several producing credits on sort of name brand-ish shows, and some places were like not questioning whether or not they'd give me an EP credit, but other places were like, oh, we don't really do that, because my credits weren't at an EP level yet. So anything that you can do to demonstrate your capabilities is going to be to your benefit. And shooting a great sizzle that's going to be the one that you're showing in the network means that you produced it. And so I think that's great for your perception. Sizzle you can shoot like in a day. You don't need a lot of footage because, again, it's going to be 4 minutes. You can decide how much you're going to spend. I decided to, I know how to shoot. I own a bunch of gear. I obviously know how to edit. I can sort of be my own guy and make stuff, and I've tried that in the past. And what I learned this time that I did differently, and I did get much different results, is that I acted like a producer. So I hired crew. I have friends on crews that would do favors. I had no favors on the set, none, not even a PA, like nothing. I acted like a producer, and the results I got reflected that. And so I highly recommend doing things in the most professional way you can, because you will yield better results. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. I can do the one-man band thing. I have we used all my gear. I know how to work it all. And I actually, it's funny, I even went to the length of hiring out an editor. I've been editing for 12 years. I hired an editor. He got sick, and I ended up editing it myself, which was a mistake because I did a terrible job. And when I finally took it to the production company, they had their promo guy recut it, and he did a much better job than me. And it's for a lot of reasons. You know, I was too close to it. I was distracted. This guy sells sizzles all the time. I would just outsource everything. So you can have that sort of perspective that a producer does have. So for the punk rock pie shop, how are we doing? We have our patty, we have a sizzle. It's time to go make the deal. I wanted to know if I should get an agent because I'm about to sign a piece of paper that's going to have consequences for the next few years, especially if it succeeds.